I got the invitation to go on this Armed Lutheran radio show, though. You know this guy? Have you seen this? There's two things that I would like to say that make me feel safe. Number one, the fact that there is a radio show called the Armed Lutheran Podcast somewhere in the world. That makes me feel safe.
Pistols, prayer, and potluck. This is Armed Lutheran Radio.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Armed Lutheran Radio, a show about guns, hunting, competitive shooting, the natural right of self-defense, and what God's Word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. I'm your host, Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, and this is episode number 396. Thank you so much for making Armed Lutheran Radio a part of your week this week. Welcome back to those of you who are previous listeners. Welcome aboard to those of you who are new. For those of you who are new, don't know what we're doing, it's our monthly online hangout for March 2024. We get together every month with the supporters of the show, the people who make this show possible, the people we call the members of the Reformation Gun Club. As I say every week, Armed Lutheran Radio is listener funded. We don't have any advertising. We don't have any sponsors. We rely on the generosity of our members, people like the folks you're going to be meeting in today's show. And if you would like to join them, if you would like to support the show, help it continue, to get access to hundreds of hours of exclusive content on our website, some cool Armed Lutheran swag, and of course, invitations to hang out with some cool people every month, visit reformationgunclub.com to find out more and to sign up today for just $36 per year. We would love to have you come join us. Check that out and come sign up. All right, let's I've got a couple of announcements, but I want to get everybody in here first. So Stephen Clifford is with us. Stuart is with us. William is back with us. KJ7IZ, which I cannot remember who that is. All right. And of course, William is in a car somewhere.
Yeah, I'm actually at a friend's house. We were doing a men's night at church, and we just wrapped up. So I'm like, I'm going to jump in real quick and say
Excellent. Hi. It just wouldn't be right if you weren't in a car somewhere. So it's perfect.
But because I'm parked, I do have some options.
Excellent. And KJ7IZ is our good friend Donny, who's using a secret password.
Well, actually, you can probably Google that and find out it's me, because that's my FCC amateur radio license.
Ah, very good.
Ham.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm a real ham.
You are a ham. And now you've confirmed it. Excellent. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. And another ham here.
All right. We've got a club within the club.
Yeah, well, it's K4GUN, so go figure.
K4 good. I love it.
Perfect.
I like that. I've got my GMRS, but I don't have my ham yet.
Stuart, how are you?
Fine, I have none of that.
You're just a natural ham.
Yeah. How's the weather in Texas today?
It's good so far. It's supposed to be gusty and windy tomorrow, like gusts up to 50 miles an hour. So I hope my roof can handle it now that it's all repaired. But yeah, it's been we had rain, a couple of days of rain, but it's been in the 60s for the most part. Been comfy.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Not yet we're not quite yet to the 90s, so that's coming. Before we get started and go around the horn, there is a little bit of housekeeping I wanted to do, a couple of quick announcements. One is the new book, which is called Forsaking All Others, and that is coming out that is going to be out on the 6th, and that is the sequel to the Fifth Command. It is for readers 12 and up, and it features a a cast of characters that might be loosely based on your favorite podcasters: a bard, a cleric, an elf huntress, and a dwarven prince. And the stories are, it's a fun adventure with important lessons about faith and the Ten Commandments and love of neighbor and sacrifice. And in the case of this one, marriage. The first one, the fifth command, is about defense of yourself and neighbors. But in any event, check out the website. Got links for both books. The first book is available on Amazon. The sequel, as I said, is coming out April 6th. Finishing up the reader's guide for that now, which is for parents and pastors and Sunday school teachers and the like, so you can read it with your group at church. And I'm hoping that the pre-orders for the book are going to be here this week before I go out of town. And I think Dan Velt won a copy of the book, so he'll be getting one of those. Hopefully they'll be here before I head out at the end of the week. And speaking of the end of the week, I will be out of town next weekend, so I will try to put together a show before I leave. But if not, don't be alarmed. We might miss next week and have to do an early show the week after Easter. And I apologize for last week. The day after I recorded with Pastor Bennett, I got some sort of, as my grandpa or grandma would say, I got the croup, and I couldn't stop coughing, and my voice sounded horrible. And so I couldn't subject you guys to that for an episode last week. So I apologize for missing out. All right. Oh, it's old One Eye. Let's go around the room. William, what have you been up to since when last we met?
Oh. I had my first beer last night in a week, which doesn't sound like much, but I had to go on a liver cleanse diet, and so it was a liver gallbladder cleanse. But my physician thinks, very long story short, that my liver has been largely shut off for much of my life. So I've been getting weird, like fat lips and things like my liver's trying to offload some of its work to other parts of the body, in the biggest organs, the skin. So. So I went on a very vegan diet, a lot of quinoa and stuff mixed into the quinoa. I still haven't had coffee in more than a week. That's weird.
Oh.
But I feel good. Like, it feels really good. Like it's I feel very, very cleaned out.
How do they? What's the effect they think of if you do this thing for a week where you sort of do the liver cleanse? What are they hoping?
It's a liver cleanse. It's a colon cleanse. It's basically to try to, if you've got so many things, so many toxins, etc., built up, and your liver is just not functioning properly, and it's offloading things to other parts of the body. It's just to flush a bunch of stuff out and kind of reset.
Not talking about like gallbladder removal or any of that kind of stuff.
Not at this point. No, nothing like that. I'm still relatively healthy. I just had these weird fat lips happening out of nowhere. So, and little welts happening on the skin. So, still not 100% certain, but that's the going theory, is that the liver hasn't been working properly. We're still early days and trying to figure out what in the world's going on. But otherwise, I'm still functional and fairly healthy and still very active. So not exactly sure what's
definitely
happening.
Pray for a good prognosis then.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
So it's been a couple months since I've been at a meeting at the Hangout.
Yeah.
But since that time, we were on vacation in Florida visiting my pastor's widow, and got a email that one of my cousins had been in a horrific car accident and died. And so it was, and now we think he'd had a heart attack while driving, and
oh goodness,
it was a big, massive pile up, and he was the only fatality. There's some other injuries, but everyone was expected to survive pretty well. But so the very next weekend, I flew out to North Carolina and was out with family and saying goodbye to a 60-year-old cousin who went far sooner than anyone expected.
Well, our condolences to your family. What part of North Carolina?
Charlotte area.
Okay, cool. not far from. Well, I mean, not cool. Big,
Understood.
yeah,
Yeah.
close to where I grew up, and I think close to our one of our. Trying to remember, one of our members is in the Charlotte area. I think Indian Trail down in there. So you've already clued us in as to what you're drinking tonight. Doctor approved, I hope.
By now it is, yes.
By now.
Stuart,
how
4 days ago, no. So we're good.
Good. All right, Stuart, what have you been up to since last we saw you, and what are you drinking tonight?
Well, what have I been up to? Just planning for my trip and getting ready for the trip that I thought I had to shave the beard off for because of the passport. But then I looked at my newest passport. The beard was there. So
you don't have to worry about that.
No, I don't have to worry about that. Drinking rye whiskey.
Very good. Any particular? Is it your usual, or is there?
I think this one I can't remember. I threw the bottle away. I have a decanter.
Polished it
I put
off.
stuff in. No, I put it in. I have my great grandfather's decanter set.
Nice. Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
I took your idea from last time. I think it was the last one where you were having I think you were having a screwdriver.
I can't remember.
I think you've slept since then. I think you were having a screwdriver last time, so that's
all right. Good.
Well, a little Western Sun vodka from right here, about 10 miles away, and a little triple sec and some orange juice. So.
Oh wow, that sounds good.
It is. Steve,
how fancier than I do.
No way. Okay, before I go to Steve, you've been. I keep seeing you posting pictures at the local ice rink. What? Tell us about the hockey team and how you got interested in this. And were you a big fan when you were up in Washington?
I like hockey, but I don't watch sport on TV because it's boring to me. So this guy I met at the baseball game, I had season tickets for the Wahoos. He invited me to come see it, and it turned, something to do. Get me out of the house. Otherwise, I'm not very boring. And unlike Will I Am, I'm very boring. And don't do a lot, so it gets me out of the house, and it's enjoyable. I mean, it's interesting when the hockey game actually starts, versus the fight.
What level of hockey, or it's the Pensacola? What's the name of the team?
These are the Ice Flyers.
The Ice Flyers. Okay.
Yeah.
ECHL or American Hockey League?
SPHL, Southern Professional Hockey League. They're not attached to anyone.
Okay.
They're just. It's not like the baseball team that's attached to the Marlins.
Step above beer league, basically.
Yeah.
That can still be fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Very cool. Let's see, Steve. You're up next. What have you been up to since last we saw you, and what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I am drinking the official whiskey of the Washington Capitals, actually.
Okay.
My son gave me this for Christmas. It was a commemorative thing, so this is Courage and Conviction. And
courage.
Honestly, it's not that great. It's expensive.
Neither are the Capitals.
Yeah, well, there you go. Thank you.
Sorry.
Someone had to say it.
But it was this cool little commemorative set. It came with glasses and some whiskey stones that are in the shape of a hockey puck. So it was really cool. I got it for my son for Christmas. And I am enjoying it, but it kind of makes my tongue numb, which I've never had a bourbon do before, but
that's what you say.
That's a new one.
Yeah, well, exactly. And it's not even that. I mean, it's a 92 proof, so it's not one of the complete high potency ones, but
right.
Yeah, just kind of a weird feeling in the mouth. So yet not not a real high recommendation, but I appreciate my son doing it.
Yes.
And since last time, I've been out shooting several times with that Sig Cross I told you about last time, and
Yep.
I am enjoying that rifle like I can't even tell you. Accuracy on it is just amazing. I've been shooting, and I'm shooting factory ammo with it. Last time out at 100 yards, I had 3 groups that were under a half MOA, including 2 groups that were smaller than the diameter of the bullet. Both of them were, yeah, and those, and they were back-to-back groups. So it's not like, it was that one wallet group that you never shoot anything like that again. So it's a tack driver.
Nice.
I took it to a match. Kind of just a local fun match, not a real serious thing. It was 10 targets with 2 shots per target. I did not do well in that. I had a couple of mental errors and I messed up a couple things, but that's okay. I had a great time. I learned a lot. But what was fun about that match is I've been kind of mentoring a friend of mine. We work together. He's done some shooting, but he decided he wanted to get into long range shooting. And he realized that I was getting into it. So we kind of piggybacked, and we've been going out together and learning together. And he's struggled on a lot of things, but all of a sudden, the last time we were at the range, things seemed to really come together. He placed 3rd in the match. He had 16 of 20 impacts at ranges out to 1,100 yards. And one of the targets was an egg at 200 yards. So the guy is just absolutely coming along, and his face was lit up. It was so much fun. And when somebody that you have mentored and kind of brought through the process, and I took him to a couple of events, long range shooting events, and to see it all come together for him like that, really, really rewarding. I could not be happier for the guy.
Sounds like the student has become the master.
Yeah, well, student sure outshot me. That's for dang sure. Yeah, he had a great day, and I did not. But that's all right. Fun thing is, he a couple weeks ago, and even prior to this, he had decided that he really wanted to take a more high-end long-range class, and decided he wanted me to go with him. So he's paying for me to take a 2-day class from CR2 shooting school next month. So hopefully middle of the month we will go down to Roanoke and take a 2-day class from CR2. The guys from CR2, one of them actually wrote the Army sniper training manual that they currently use. So pretty serious guys in the long range community, and I think we will learn a lot. And my buddy's paying for me, so gotta like that.
Nothing better than free.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what you're getting, I guess.
Yeah, well.
Now, for William and Rob, by the way, welcome. Good to see you, buddy. If you guys weren't at the last hangout, and you missed Steve's greatest gun trade of all time, I would recommend you. We may revisit that here shortly. It's one of the
on the recording.
It's one of the most amazing trades I've ever heard. So, and the gun that he's talking about, he got in that trade, or basically. So that's
nicely done.
Pretty sweet. All right, Donnie, how have you been?
Well, I got back on the train this morning from Montana. A week ago tonight, Peter and I hopped on the train into a bedroom in the train and went out there. He was there only for a couple days. He has some other stuff to do. When I was out there, it was slightly after my other son's birthday, who's profoundly autistic, 47 years old now. And him by telephone and myself in person. I was at my son's annual planning meeting.
Okay.
So that, and as far as Peter goes, the 23rd of April is a big day for him.
Do tell.
He will be finding out where he's going on his vicarage.
Excellent. Excellent.
I saw that smile, Rob. Yep. So at that
Rob knows what that anticipation's like.
one month from today, actually.
They're counting the hours.
Yeah. So, took my associate pastor out shooting. Took him to the range, and you can bring during the week when it's not open for public shooting. You can bring a friend with you.
Excellent.
So he shot his 9mm. Plus, I mounted a scope on his shotgun so he can do some hunting this fall, and he shot that. And then I handed him, I handed him $100, and he had accidentally bought too many 17 caliber pellet guns. Oh. So now I have a 17 caliber pellet gun, which he shot, and I'm not supposed to shoot him in the city, but it's got the silencer on it, so that helps. And
who will know?
The other thing is my plants are coming up in the right behind me here, and we'll see if I can get some squirrels and rabbits. The deer I can keep out with an electric fence, which we have those all the time here too. Believe it or not, we live in a major metropolitan area, but we got deer in our backyard. I have threatened to shoot them with my crossbow. They don't like you to do that, but you know what? There's a big heavy wood fence that even the crossbow's not going to go through it. So I know because I missed once when.
What does city services say about having to come and deal with a deer carcass? It's stuck in there
pretty deep, but I was target shooting, and I think it was the very first time I shot the crossbow, and it went. I was sitting on a pallet, and I could hear it go through the pallet, and it went in, and it stuck, about halfway through a 2x4, and of course the bolt was.
How close are your neighbors on the other? Or do you have neighbors on the other side of the fence?
There's some woods, and there's a grocery store there. So
okay,
so
perfectly safe.
Perfectly
safe.
It
is. It really is safe. But
grocery store makes a great backstop.
Yeah. But had some fun. Had bought some. Took my son who'd never been to the whiskey barn out there in Coram, Montana. Took him there. By the way, I'm drinking some Glen Evelyn Scots, 16-year-old aged tonight, and it's had a good week. My son's doing good. We took him out there in Montana. We took him out to lunch a couple times, and it was a fun time. And I got to tell you this too, guys. I come back with my mother recently passed away, and I come back with a ring that has four large Montana sapphires in it. And my mother had marked it for my wife. So my wife is probably wearing it around now. So my dad had mined the sapphires. One of them is
your dad mined the sapphires?
Yeah. They have places you can actually go and mine them out there. You pay like a daily fee to go in and do it. But
okay.
He one of them is a red sapphire, which is also called the ruby. So it's she feels very, very lucky. And if Peter ever gets married, maybe she'll keep that ring and give the ring she wears to him for his wife. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice. All right. Rob, it is good to see you, buddy. It's you weren't here for the last one, which was our first of the year, so it's been way too long. How have you been?
It's been a minute. You'd think if all I got to do is go to school, you'd think I'd be able to make some meetings, but it all piles up.
Indeed.
I got another curveball that we were dealing with this week is, we live in the parsonage of Zion Lutheran in Muscoda, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And the pastor's been here for 18 and a half years. Nothing's going to change. Everything's perfect. And then the pastor took a call to Concordia, Chicago. So we're moving again.
What?
Yeah.
How does that work? Why are you moving? Because is there no longer a church to serve? I mean,
well, the whole idea
you don't get along with the new pastor, or
I need a mentor to be assigned to. So if the mentor leaves, it's a sole pastorship.
I get you. Okay.
Yeah. So and
now they're looking for you a new mentor.
Right. And even if by some miracle they manage to get a pastor immediately to replace him, he's going to be trying to figure out which end is up, and not going to need some, first year seminarian trailing around him trying to figure out what's going on.
Here's how we do things. Let me fill you in with my
my extensive experience.
Yes, exactly.
I have a question.
Cringe.
I have a question for you. Isn't vicarage almost over with?
So this is just my field education.
Oh,
I'm just a first year.
You're in field work. Okay, I thought you were on vicarage. Sorry.
No, not yet. It's hard to tell with all of us second career guys because we're all old.
Yeah.
And you can't just look to see.
I get that. I resemble that remark.
Right. That's better than the alternative.
Indeed.
But the good news is we think we found a rental over on the other side of St. Louis, so we'll go from having a 40-minute one-way commute to more like a 20-minute commute, and that'll be nice.
So are they going to be, how far might you end up having to move? I mean, are you going to be serving at the same church, or are you going to be a different church in the same area, or do you have any clue what's coming your way, or are you just sort of
shooting from the hip? They'll assign me to someplace local. There's a bunch of churches that all kind of participate in this field education program, but it'll definitely be someplace different. Now, interestingly enough, because he took a call to Concordia University, Chicago, he's actually going to be here until like the school year starts for this next year. So we've got a couple of months of basically slack time to slowly move to the new place. We think we've got a new rental secured over in St. Louis. So once that starts on the 1st of April, we'll slowly move over there, and it'll be nice and a controlled move. Then the kids won't have to worry about it until the end of the school year. So we got some time to figure things out.
Okay.
Until then, it'll be Redwood Empire's Lost Monarch. So
that is a very highfalutin name. I got to write that down. Say that one more time slowly.
The company is Redwood Empire. They're
Empire.
a blending. They source their whiskey from other places.
Okay,
but it's an excellent blend called Lost Monarch. They name all their whiskeys after the redwood trees.
Oh, okay. Not as
and
high.
They couldn't find that one, huh?
Right.
Right.
This is one of my favorites, though. So if you can find it, I highly recommend it.
Okay, I will look that up. Definitely. Okay. 30 minutes in, what do we talk about? Did anybody watch that awful State of the Union address that happened?
He didn't address the State of the Union. He just it was a campaign speech.
State of the Union shout.
And trashing. It wasn't. He didn't actually address the state of this union as it currently stands. It just wasn't. It wasn't what it ought to have been.
I didn't bother to watch. I figured I'd catch the highlights because I knew there would be lots of people sitting on their hands and lots of people clapping like dolphins and then pointing to the trans people in the gallery and mispronouncing Laken Riley's name. I just didn't want to deal with any of it. I hate the State of the Union anyway. It's just, he's not a king. It's so stupid. But
all he has to do is write a letter.
Yeah, I would much rather we get back to that instead of this. It feels monarchical to me. Speaking of monarchs, it's
he should have said prices are higher, the border's not closed, we have a crappy State of the Union, and that would have been pretty sufficient.
And he wouldn't have needed to get juiced up on whatever he was juiced up on to tell us that.
Wow, was he juiced up on something? I want to know what they're pumping into him. That is like Reanimator stuff. If you remember that horror movie from the 90s.
Amphetamines.
It's got to be something. But it didn't take long for
at least
a good portion of it to wear off, from what I could tell, because the slurring started pretty early, which I wasn't surprised by. I figured he was going to be slurring his way through that speech. I didn't know how long before, even as angry and animated as he was still slurring half of it fairly early in the speech. Was any standout moments for any of you guys? Any thoughts on, the only thing that stands out is just how angry and out of touch it felt.
I've lost all hope. I really have. The institutions that I used to believe in over the last 2 years, 3 years, I've completely lost all faith in all of them, both parties, and I don't know.
Oh my gosh! Speaking of the both parties, this $1.2 trillion omnibus spending bill. I'm so glad we got rid of Kevin McCarthy. That made it so much better.
Yes, you can thank my congressman for that.
Yeah,
sorry.
He's kind of a jackwagon. I just don't. Yeah, I'm like you, Steve. I hear people who say, no, they're optimistic that the institutions are strong and that they'll bounce back and things will. They're
not strong.
I don't think they going to survive.
Well, they're strong, but they're strong in the wrong way right now. They're strong in that the institutions have taken over everything, and they don't even. I don't even think it's some cabal that is running anything. These people all have mutual self-interest. They know what they need to do to keep control, to keep power. They will continue to keep control and keep power no matter what. And it's depressing. I have a degree in political science. I study all of this stuff, and over the last 3 years, I've realized that most of the institutions that I had some faith in, number one, the FBI, is so thoroughly corrupted and so completely there for reasons that I didn't think they were, that I don't know. I don't see an escape from it. But sorry, kind of being a downer tonight, but yeah, it's rough. I don't see how we get it better at this point.
Keeps us going.
That's
Get rid of the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Shut down the bureaucracies, and because they're ruling by fiat, not by constitutional means.
Absolutely.
And that's been going on since good old FDR, all you liberals' favorite president.
Yeah.
He allowed the Marxists in.
The incentive structures are not there for people to actually make positive change. All the incentives are there for them to continue to do what Steve was talking about, accumulate power and enrich themselves and gaslight the rest of us about how great Bidenomics is.
Yep.
There's no incentive for them to make it better. I mean, I don't know how do we create an incentive structure that says to our elected representatives, do it, fix it, make it better, or get the hell out.
I think we bring back the gallows, and that might actually be a good disincentive.
There's a tree.
I'm not totally opposed to that. I mean, it feels treasonous what a lot of them are doing.
It's only because it's a little treasonous.
It's only because it's a little treasonous. That's right. That's right. And the world's on fire, and we're all fighting over. We're not electing serious people. Okay. So I was discussing this with my wife the other day, and we were both kind of kicking around these ideas, and we think what we came up with is, I think not only does there need to be a top level limit for the dinosaurs that we have serving in Congress, so that we don't keep having these problems where we're electing these 80-year-olds who can't make it off a stage without doing the whole Roomba thing. There needs to be a top, we have that 35 minimum age for the presidency. Do we have a minimum for the other branches? I don't think we do.
Yes, we do. Dude, 25 legislature, 30 Senate.
Okay. We need to raise it. We need to raise all of it.
I was a history major.
Thank you. I could not remember, for some reason. I'm sitting there looking at AOC, and she's completely brainless, and I'm trying to figure out, she might as well be
Nancy
13.
Nancy Pelosi's brainless too, and she's 80 something or other. So
right.
It's not these. It's that we have a lot. Marxism is alive and well in the United States. McCarthy was right in the 50s, and I mean, Marxist communists. They allow that communist Bernie Sanders and people like that. I mean,
lifetime useless person.
Well, it's more than the elected officials, though. It is the bureaucracy.
Yes.
The bureaucracy runs things in ways that we don't even realize. When they make these different energy policies, and these energy policies end up telling us what kind of car we're going to be able to buy in about 7 or 8 years, and nobody can do anything about it. Nobody gave them that authority, but how do you show standing to show that you've been harmed? Meanwhile, car manufacturers can't innovate in the way that the consumers want. They have to innovate in the way that the government is telling them to innovate. Yep. And so you have effective communism at this point. But it looks like capitalism. Everyone thinks it's capitalism, but it's really not, because it is the government that doesn't own the means of production, but they're the means of production.
But you're explaining fascism there.
It is. It absolutely is, and it is so pervasive that people don't even realize how bad it is.
And
the elected officials are almost the least of our problems right now. They're the most visible ones, but they're not the ones that are making all of these decisions.
Agreed. Well, my point about the elected officials is that if we don't get serious people elected, we don't have people who will actually fix the administrative problem, right? If we're still electing people who just are there thinking that they can get, clicks like Boebert and and AOC and some of these people who it's all a vanity thing, and they're all trying to, or Gates. What we need is older, serious people who've actually lived and done things, right? Not
like Donny.
I'm sorry?
Like Donny.
Yes, I would vote for Donny 10 times over any of the people we have in Congress.
Hey, you're not a Democrat. You can't vote more than once.
Well, yeah.
But I'm almost dead. Can't I vote twice?
I have a split personality.
There you go. Send in a ballot for each one of them.
what you're saying, because I had an inspection on my HVAC system, and it was going to cost me $2,000 to get it fixed. So I sucked it up because by the end of the year, they have these new rules coming down that it's going to increase the cost of HVAC 25%, and it's then and all that. So I sucked it up, put that $14,000 for a new HVAC because of the communists.
Yes, because of the climate crisis.
The climate
What
crisis.
climate crisis? You mean the one caused by the sun?
Right.
The one caused by Mars? Which one are we going to talk about? The one that goes around and around every million years or so?
The climate that's changed forever.
Yeah.
Since the creation of the planet, we've had a changing climate.
They're really hitting it this year because, what? In Minnesota, we had the warmest Christmas day ever. We've had a total of about 7 inches of snow all winter here, but it might make up for it tomorrow. But we'll see what happens. But they're on it, and the car thing. They want you all to own a car that if you plug it in, it'll blow up and burn your house down.
But don't plug it in because the grid can't handle it.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
And
how good is it for the climate when we're open pit mining all the materials to make those stupid batteries in Africa?
Yeah, slave labor.
The point of all of that is really to drive everybody into the big urban centers, because you can't have an electric vehicle where you can travel anywhere. So you're going to be forced into these big urban centers where you're going to rely on public transportation. Who runs public transportation? Oh, the transportation unions. I swear it's all about power. It's not even money. It's not.
I would say let's put on our tinfoil hats because it feels like tinfoil.
It's power.
It feels like tinfoil hat time.
I swear that's the whole point of this.
The more we watch, the less conspiracy, the less tinfoil hatty it feels.
Well, they say the difference between the conspiracy and reality is about 8 weeks, isn't it?
These days, it's probably less.
Yeah.
These days, you just watch Babylon Bee for a little while, and you'll see what's going to happen in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very true. Or South Park. South Park has a ridiculous record for predicting stuff.
Those are the Simpsons.
Yep.
But I think if we start by electing serious people, and by serious I mean not young 20-year-olds and not early 30-year-olds, people who have worked in the private sector and done stuff, or been in the military and done stuff, not like Bernie Sanders, who's been a career nobody, useless person who hasn't worked a day in his life.
And is a millionaire.
And is a millionaire with 6 houses. How does that happen?
Yeah.
I barely can afford one.
Create disincentives, like pass laws that make it, like who was it that was proposing a law that said you can't buy or sell stock while you're in Congress? I mean, one of the things that sadly all the people who get up there, they've got all this. You and I, if we did insider trading, right? If we had inside information about a company and used that to enrich ourselves in the market, we'd go to prison.
Oh no, they
Congress does it all the time.
Well, they don't do it. It's their spouses, their sons and daughters, their parents, all of their family members are enriching themselves. But I'm not trading stocks. No, of course you're not. It's your husband is. Yeah. But
or it's influence peddling.
And it's
sick. The Bidens and them and their influence peddling. I mean, I don't want to vote for Trump, but I sure as hell don't want that communist.
I'm voting for Trump 10 ways from Sunday.
Absolutely.
Before I would ever vote for Biden.
No, there's no way I'd vote for Biden because the Marxist people he keeps around him.
Yeah. I'm convinced he's not really running the country. And I
don't think he ever has.
He might have in the first 100 days. It's the decline from there, from inauguration day to today, is just amazing. I mean, look at his inauguration speech and compare it to the State of the Union the other day, and it's frightening how much he's changed.
There's no way they're going to let Trump win. There's no way. Trump is not going to.
They're trying every way possible to stop him, and he just keeps getting more popular.
Yeah, well,
only with
as long as he's alive.
Republicans.
Only because Biden is so terrible.
Yeah.
If Biden wasn't terrible and the country wasn't on fire, Trump wouldn't have a chance.
Yeah.
And the world wasn't on fire.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I support helping Ukraine. I support Israel, not because they're the new whatever William would say. Are you a millennialist, William, or are you?
I sure am.
Oh, okay, never mind. Sorry, you're a Calvinist. I forgot.
Lutheran.
So, what was I saying? Who knows?
You support Israel. They're our only ally.
Democracy.
They're the only democracy in the region. And
Israel, yes.
Liberal
Ukraine,
democracy.
no.
We can't let the Russians win.
I do support to
easily. Why? Because then they keep going further. Let's look at the Anschluss in Austria, and then Czechoslovakia, then Poland, and they finally did something. And after the Russians and the Germans divided up Poland in 1939. So sometimes
Putin's counting on us not
up.
wanting to do any. Putin is counting on us not wanting to do anything.
Well,
and he'll push and he'll push and he'll push until he gets his nose clapped.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean we have to put boots on the ground. And it doesn't.
Yes.
But what I find interesting is that we keep talking about how we want to see a plan from the Israelis about how they're going to execute their invasion in Gaza. We don't do the same thing with Ukraine. I don't have a problem with sending Ukraine money for their military or sending them arms, but I want to know what the plan is.
I want to know what the plan is.
What they're, because we saw video this past week or maybe the week before of Abrams tanks being destroyed, right? We sent them Abrams A1 tanks, and they were destroyed because the Ukrainians have no freaking clue how to use them. We need a plan from them before we give them any.
If we didn't have the Air Force, the problem is we've had an idiot in the White House.
And there's that too.
Sending little things at a time. He should have sent the F-16s in 2022. He should have sent the HIMARS in 2022. He should have sent all those things that they had requested so they would actually be able to do something with them. When you trickle it in, because the idiot and his advisors in the White House just fucked the whole thing up.
Well, I'm at a point now where, and I think the Ukraine's at a point now where I don't know what they did. Taking back Donbass and taking Ukraine or Crimea are not possible. I don't think it's going to ever happen. So I think now what we need to be talking to Ukraine about is we need to come up with a solution out of this. Like, we'll give you security guarantees, maybe not NATO membership. We'll give you security guarantees. We'll help arm your and train your military, but this needs to stop because we can't fund you forever, right? And then we need to go to Russia and say the same thing. All right, you need to back the hell off, or we can unleash something on you. And I mean, if you think Ukraine, the funny thing is, we were all and we're still scared to death of Russia. But they've proven they're a paper tiger. Ukraine is kicking their butts in many ways. They should have taken Ukraine in like 3 days, but they didn't. We're now, how long is it now? 2 years? Year and a...
It's 2.
It's been 2?
2 years.
And they've lost 500,000 men or more. We need to be talking to Putin and say, okay, it's time for you guys to get out. You can keep...
Speaking of getting out, I got to get going, guys.
I will,
my friend. Good to see you, William.
For the rest of it when it comes out.
All right, buddy.
All right, guys. Bye.
We need to be telling Putin, all right, you get the Donbass, you get Crimea, that's it. Back out and there needs to be an off-ramp. There needs to be a way out of this.
But we don't have anyone with a
leadership.
backbone.
No.
We have no leadership. And
part of the reason that we're 2 years into this is because, like you said,
leadership.
We have no leadership. We haven't stood up to Putin. We've just trickled out a little bit of aid here and there. If we'd been strong at day one, they wouldn't have lost the Donbass. They wouldn't have lost as much territory as they have. But here we are.
Here we are. That's what happens when you have weaklings running things. If you want to be a world power, you can't be a weak person. Hello, cat.
Everybody's got cats. Mine
have been walking behind me.
I saw them. Mine are meowing at the door. Steve's are crawling around all over the place.
Yeah, mine is a rescue cat, and he thinks the world revolves around him. I don't know where he ran off to, though.
Is there a cat that doesn't think the world revolves around him?
All cats are like that.
This one showed up on my porch about a year and a half ago.
My dog would sleep on my bed.
Your cat showed up a year ago?
Yeah, I've discovered that you never go out and you adopt a cat. That's dumb because they will find you. I've had three cats over the last few years, and all three of them have found us. They adopted us, and we belong to them. And this one is just absolutely hilarious. He showed up on the back porch a year and a half ago and has just absolutely taken over the house. The world revolves around him, and he's the coolest cat I've ever had. I'm now officially a cat person. This guy is just awesome. I don't know where he ran off to, though. Anyway.
You know what they say, you can own a dog, but cats have servants.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's very true. Very true.
Oh, there goes another one.
There's Stuart's. Or one of Stuart's.
Oh, yes, I got to go use the litter box. Why don't you go outside? You can get out there.
Yeah.
No. You've got the high-tech thing going on there. He's not gonna avoid that.
Yeah.
Where were we before we got off talking about?
Hey, if you want one more Lutheran thing, we're still looking for a pastor, by the way. That has turned out to be one of the most frustrating things I've ever witnessed.
Where are you at?
We're in Fredericksburg, Virginia, Central Virginia, and
I can give you a name, but I don't know if he's want to go all that way.
Well,
Mark Schlauman is looking for a full-time pastor. He's out in Tooele, Utah. His wife just had surgery, a double lung transplant, and he was serving Walmart and a couple of churches. They couldn't afford full time.
We've put out 2 calls that got turned down, which is really frustrating. Yeah, so that's gotten a little frustrating. And I'm fairly new with the LCMS. I didn't quite understand how this whole process worked, and I'm a little bit shocked at all of it. But apparently right now we're in the process of trying to figure out if there's any seminarians. So we're going the seminarian process and have everything else on hold a little bit.
How big is your congregation?
We have about 150 people at our 11 o'clock service. That's what I know. I don't know our average Sunday.
That's pretty good size.
It is a pretty good size. Apparently, the hang up and what has made it difficult, from what I understand, is we're a very politically conservative congregation, but from what I understand, and being new to the LCMS, I'm just learning all this. So we have we have one woman who is a communion assistant.
No, that's wrong.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's not forbidden by the denomination.
It's not, but
it's forbidden by the Bible. So does that count? And the Book of Concord. All right.
Well, so they are not on the pulpit, but it's a communion assistant. But then the other part is that we have blended service for the 11 o'clock. So we have a praise band. I know. See, that's the eye roll. That's what's making it tough on us, apparently.
I have don't contact Mark Schlaman. He would say no.
I know.
I know. And they say they're Lutheran. They're Lutheran by doctrine, but their substance is a little bit evangelical. Find a better church. I'll tell you that now.
We're in the middle of our pastor that's been here for 22 years is retiring the end of June. We just we put out a call, or we have interviewed a gentleman for what's called an intentional interim because the pastor was there so long. We actually have 3 services. Saturday night and Sunday morning at 8 are traditional. Every other week, the other is we do a blended service with a praise band, and then they do traditional the other times. But we got a guy who's agreed to come for that for up to a year and a half. But the seminarian thing is you can call from the seminary, and that would be a pastor that's been trained at the seminary but hasn't been any place yet. And there'll be twice as many requests as there are seminarians. There'll be about 85 of them between the 2 seminaries.
Yep.
So that's kind of...
we have one service here at Emmanuel in Pensacola, and we have communion every Sunday, and it's traditional. There's none of this. You know how hard it is to find a church like that in Florida when I moved here? Because it had to be. I just don't go any place. Sorry, but I mean, I make sound decisions to find the right church. And if I'm moving somewhere, there's got to be the right church. And that is, but I went to Fort Wayne, so I'm a little odd.
Well, but if Steve's church can find the right pastor,
he can change it.
He can
move it on.
Now understand where I came from. I came over from the Episcopal Church, and during COVID, I was looking for a congregation that served communion on Sundays and was still meeting during COVID. This was the only church that was, and they made some very intentional decisions to make sure that they were still able to serve the congregation and figure out ways to do it instead of going all virtual like every other congregation in the Fredericksburg area did. Right. And this is the only LCMS church within any reasonable driving distance of me. And the church and the church itself is actually a fantastic congregation. I mean, we have more young families than I've ever seen in a church in a long time. And so we've got this growing movement. We have a energy. We've got people interested in what's going on with the congregation, and the church had a fantastic pastor who came down with cancer and passed away. So we now have and that happened right after we had hired an assistant pastor. So the guy who was hired as a part-timer has been filling in full-time until we can find someone. And so I'm very, very happy with the church. I love the people.
Good.
And
is the assistant
doctrinal
pastor,
parts of it, whatever.
Is the assistant pastor head pastor material, or is he? No. Okay.
He's not interested. He's not interested. He retired from Amazon. He was with Amazon Web Services and went through the process that way. Older guy, not old, but old enough to where he's not looking for a full-time gig. He was quite happy being a part-time. Wants to go back to being part-time. Good guy. I like him. But yeah, we just need a full-time, and we need
he's happy being kind of an interim fill-in where he can help, not settle down in one place. Okay.
Yep.
Well, Steve, I hope you guys find somebody before I'm up.
Yeah. Well, I kind
I
of
was
do,
raised
but
Episcopal as well, and my dad always used to call the Episcopal Church the thinking man's church. And I think that nickname belongs to the LCMS, because that's what really attracted me, is that it just makes sense.
well, I it was a pretty easy transition, actually, and I'm quite happy with it. I'm very happy to be a part of the LCMS community, and I'm happy to be away from the Episcopal Diocese of Virginia. It was funny because I was like the only conservative that raised my hand and said, yeah, I'll be in. I went into some leadership roles. I actually was at one point the lead lay person in the entire diocese, and was part of some pretty big stuff. But they kind of looked at me like, what are you doing here? How did we end up with this guy in a leadership role? And now that I'm gone, they've gone entirely woke, and I was kind of a buffer for them for a while.
The answer to the question is the same as the answer to the question you guys were talking about earlier, is why don't we have any decent politicians? Because no decent people is going to volunteer for that role. It's all like sociopaths and nut jobs.
Wait a second, I volunteered for those.
Well, you're kind of like,
and you got out as soon as you could.
and you got out as soon as you could. We see this happen all the time in Congress too, right? We see people who get in there and they're just like this. Mike Gallagher's quitting, right? He announced this week that he's getting out, and that cuts the House majority by one more for the Republicans by one more seat. And he's like, this place is broken. I'm out. There's nothing I can do to fix it. I'm done. And we saw after the Gingrich revolution, remember that bunch of guys who was all gung-ho to fix things, and there were a handful of them, Steve Everett, and there was a guy who was I can't think of his name. He was a black guy who was a star running back for Oklahoma. I can't think of his name. I don't know. But he was like, no, one term, I'm done. This is all. I can't take this anymore. Normal people don't volunteer for the abuse and all of the craziness that happens in Washington. That's why we get the people like Rob described, they're down for that. And we end up with crazy people, and we end up with crazy policies, and we end up spending crazy amounts of money on stupid stuff, and with tons of very unserious people running the country in a very serious time. That about wraps it up. That sums it up perfectly.
Well, we'll pray for your congregation that they may get somebody that can bring them back to the truth. Because being conservative and being confessional is not the same thing.
Okay.
And
it's hard.
You read the Book of Concord?
No.
Why?
I'm new.
That's
I don't know.
You swear to you're going to fulfill with the congregation. The congregation is sworn to follow what the Book of Concord has as the true exhibition of the word of the Lord. And that is our seminarian there. He can tell you all that. I'm sure he's read through the whole thing, or I don't know if he's on the way through it.
I'm actually going through that class now. I got a 76 on the test, so maybe I'm not the right person to ask.
Oh, no. It's not necessarily the easiest thing. I was a lousy student, but I had Marquardt, and we had to read through the whole thing. God rest his. But anyway.
Were you trying to wrap this up, Lloyd?
I was.
Sorry. I got to go sit in my hot tub.
I'm going to top off for the next round.
That sounds great. Guys, I love you. I appreciate you taking the time. And I don't know that I'll be able to I'll try to get a show recorded for next weekend. I'm going to unfortunately be out of town next weekend. So I don't know that I'm definitely not going to have, unless
Easter weekend, take it off.
I can't.
No, take off from the podcast.
Oh, take off from the podcast. Perfect. Okay, thank you. I have Stuart's permission. We're good.
If that's good for anything.
That works.
Rob,
Stuart
maybe I'll see you on the 23rd of April. We're going to be down there.
Okay, I'm sure it's kind of a mandatory fun event, so we'll be there.
Yeah, it's like 3:00 in the afternoon for Vickers.
And I'm going to be up Steve's way over the weekend, so I'm not sure how far is Fredericksburg from National Harbor, Maryland?
A little over an hour.
Okay. Well, I'll wave as we fly over.
Perfect.
God bless you guys. I appreciate you taking the time, and we will see you next month for another Hangout.
Maybe.
Huh?
All right.
Oh, no.
It'll be 1 o'clock it'll be 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning when you have this thing.
No.
Me.
We'll do it right. We'll definitely have an April one.
Okay, good.
All right.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Thanks, guys.
for all the hard work, Lloyd.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
For show notes, be sure to visit our website at www.armedlutheran.us. Check out the Facebook page, The Armed Lutheran, or join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio. If you like what you hear, please leave us a comment on our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback or a review on iTunes and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Armed Lutheran Radio, a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.